Welcome. This is James Duerr, host of the James Duerr Show and the 7 Steps to Financial Success, heard every Saturday at 10 a.m. at 9:30 a.m. The Answer. We have a very important guest today, Mr. Russ Handy, and he's the aviation director for the San Antonio Airport. And that's always our beautiful backdrop every day is the airport. So, Russ, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, James.
Well, I mean, I wanted to kind of jump into, what is it like operating not just one airport but 2 airports, and how does that it's not a private sector job, it's kind of it's a public job, right?
It is very much so. And so we operate an airport system within the city, which includes both San Antonio International Airport that you can see behind you and Stinson Municipal Airport. And now Stinson is a general aviation airport, so it takes a lot of the pressure off for multiple general aviation operations, over 100,000 a year.
Wow.
And so San Antonio International now is a very diverse, so hosting both commercial, passenger carrying, cargo, general aviation, maintenance, et cetera. And so we're a very diverse population on the San Antonio Airport. But we operate as a city department, but we operate also in something that's called an enterprise fund. So we operate under FAA rules, and one of those rules are we're a self-sustaining business, so we're sort of a business within the city, if you will, and all of our revenues have to then be reinvested in the airport so that we can make the airport experience better.
And I have to tell you, the airport experience in San Antonio International Airport is wonderful. I've just done a couple of flights in and out, and the cleanliness, how organized it is. I mean, there's some airports out there that are not very nice.
Well, thank you for saying
the
that.
least. But here, I have never experienced trash on the ground. I've never experienced, all your workers there seem to be motivated. They're taking care of everything. It's just really nice to be traveling in and out of San Antonio.
Well, we're blessed with a great team that take great pride in that, so I will pass that on. I appreciate that comment.
There you go. And what other factors influence the way you run your business at the San Antonio Airport?
Well, I think one of the big factors that jumps out at you right away is that it's a large collaboration. We have a little under 500 people that work directly for me in the airport system, but we have literally thousands of people all over the airport that are directly impact the customer. And so teamwork is very important, whether it be teamwork with the airlines, teamwork with our food, beverage, retail concessions, the folks that rent hangar space. And so it really does. If you didn't understand collaboration before you got in the airport business, you learn it very, very quickly.
And there you go. And let's just jump ahead and talk about the future of the airport. I mean, I know you all are looking at maybe some expansion in the future, doing long-range planning. Tell us the future. I'm sure the public really wants to know about that.
We appreciate the question. And in fact, you see some construction ongoing at the airport now. You'll probably always see a construction in a growing city. We've recognized over 20% growth the past 3 years, and that's in an industry that typically averages below 2% a year. And so tremendous growth. Some of that is in the near term that we're taking care of through adding some gate capacity and TSA capacity. But we really want to look for a city that's going to potentially grow by 1 million people in under the next 20 years. We want to look to that long term. And so we're in the middle of a strategic planning process where we'll produce what the FAA calls a master plan, which is a very coherent 20-year plan, which also looks all the way out to 50 years to preserve flexibility for that longer term growth. So it's a very important time. We're growing as a city. The airport needs to grow with it, whether that be additional runway capacity or another terminal. And so within about the next 6 to 8 months, we'll be finalizing all of that as a city and bringing that to the community.
And what about the public? What type of input will the public have on that?
It's critically important. We've learned from other cities who maybe didn't work hard enough on community outreach that it's an absolutely critical part. This isn't going to be a Russ Handy decision or really even an airport system decision. This is a community decision on what the community expects out of their airport system to make what will ultimately be a fairly large investment. And so we are actively engaging with the community both face-to-face through open houses of various sizes, visiting community neighborhood events, social media and media. In fact, we're over 40,000 hits when you put all of those together, and we're only about halfway through the planning process.
Okay. So how can the public reach out to the airport and give their input?
So we have many public outreach events ongoing that are available through a link to our website. And but We're also, again, directly reaching out with mail. Some people still like mail, hard mail, and so we have a huge mailing list, and we're welcome to add anyone to that.
Okay.
So the best advice I can give is either come out to one of our open houses to interact with us, get on our website, or social media, and give us some direct input, or attend these community outreach events where the neighborhood associations or the council members are hosting us, and then we'll take your input.
Okay. And what about, technology is always changing things. So how's that going to affect the airport?
So technology impacts everything that we do. Well, and I think everything we do in the city, but the airport is probably at the head of that list. I mean, right now, you see technology changing things, the way we get public transportation or ground transportation through rideshare,
right.
The Ubers and the Lyfts of the world.
And by the way, that works just perfect.
And it's growing.
We always do the Uber, and it's the traffic is not bad. It's easy to get a ride back, a ride to.
But everything from the way we link all of those together. So right now we're about to launch a common access application that links all of these together, so you don't have to have 12 airline apps and 12 airport apps.
Oh, wow.
And you can have an open architecture tool that all of those link into. And so ultimately, I think what the public expects is a frictionless travel experience. So in the longer term future, it's not really all that difficult, given technology now and what we see in the foreseeable future, to envision just that, where you and your bag are pre-registered. It's screened via millimeter wave technology through the sidewalk, so that by the time you get to the checkpoint, potentially in the future, you're not stopping. The security is as good or better, but you're passing right through and eliminating all those obstacles. And so there's a lot of technology that's ongoing to try to link those together and enable that.
Is that common in airports, or is this something that San Antonio is kind of taking the lead on? Or
it is very common in airports. The advantage I believe that San Antonio has now is we are in that strategic planning process where we're looking at what that future is going to look like,
right.
so we can bake some of this into a new facility and not have to retrofit. I mean, Terminal A is fantastic, but it was built 35 years ago, back when we had half-full DC-9s.
Right.
It's not trying to evolve, and older facilities always much more difficult.
Okay, and what about? Do you have any tips for business travelers? I mean, why is it good to fly out of San Antonio?
Well, I'll tell you, probably one of the things we hear from our business travelers the most is just how streamlined the travel experience is. In some larger airports, when you go, to check in and you get in the line at TSA, that whole show up 2 hours prior,
right.
They're really serious about that.
That's right.
And although we hit peak times like that during the holidays on occasion, where it's very important and we do get that word out, for the most part, if through those technological tools you stay up to date on the traffic, stay up to date on the TSA queue line, you don't have to spend nearly as much time on the highway because the airport's right, in the middle of our city. Or when you get to TSA checkpoint, our TSA wait lines are routinely below 8 minutes. From start to finish.
And what about parking? What type of facilities? If a business traveler, what's the best if they do want to drive their car? They have the airport terminal.
We do. So we have a variety of parking options. In fact, in November of 2017, we just opened a brand new short-term parking garage, which is directly adjacent to the terminal with both an overhead and underground walkway, so you never have to set foot on a street. And we're about to institute full-service valet as well at the curb. That'll be coming in within the next 30 days, where they'll not only park your car for you and deliver back to you when you arrive, but it'll be a full-service event, so you can schedule oil changes and car washes and the like. If you want a little more economical answer, or if you're staying longer, we have a long-term parking garage with over 5,500 spots. And then 2 large surface lots, economy parking, that's an even lower cost, where we run a shuttle bus to and from the terminal for those. And so we encourage anyone to kind of think about how long you're staying, what you want to spend, get on our website, and we've got a variety of options.
Okay, and we'd like to talk about visitors for like tourists later. We have our 5 p.m. San Antonio Entertainment Show.
Fantastic.
Hopefully have you on for that too, and kind of dive into why people come here for San Antonio and what they can experience through flying instead of maybe driving. So we have about a couple minutes left. Is there anything we want to talk about in terms of the market, how it's changing, how it interacts with the airlines?
So, San Antonio International is what's deemed in the industry an origin and destination airport. We're not an airline hub, so no airlines have chosen to put a hub here. So
is that good?
It can.
Or do we want to have a hub one day?
It can be good or bad. I mean, the hub certainly brings a lot more business, a lot more revenue if you're like a DFW or a Houston Bush airport.
Right.
But that makes it a very busy airport as well, and it changes the experience.
I can tell you how many hours and hours I've stayed at Dallas. There's always a weather problem.
Well, that's true. In fact, we have very few bad weather days in San Antonio, and in fact, but we do host a lot of diversions from Dallas and from Houston because they do experience a much higher rate of inclement weather. But what we're doing is trying to optimize air service. As I said, in the past 3 years, we've had a tremendous amount of growth to try to serve our customers better. But one of the things I like to remind the public, it's not a if you build it, they will come sort of thing, like a baseball field in Iowa. Airlines are very, very good at determining whether a route can be productive. And so we spend a lot of time, our air service, chief of air service development spends probably 250 or more days a year on the road working with our airline partners to share data and understand where those markets are. And we've seen great success. Not to say we don't have work to do. We've got some unserved markets that are still working very hard on. But all of our airline partners are growing in capacity as well.
Okay. And I know people, Russ, they want to know about you too. We got about a minute left. Tell us your background.
So I started in the commercial aviation field, graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University many years ago. Thought that was my path, and through a number of different factors, ended up sort of re-vectoring myself into the military that I thought would be a very short time as well. And then 34 years later, I was still there. So I had a wonderful career with the U.S. Air Force that I finished up in 2017 or 2016, and then came here ultimately in January of 17.
Well, we really appreciate your service to the country. We appreciate your service to San Antonio, and it's nice to be able to talk to somebody who's really level-headed. You feet her on the ground. You want to interact with the customers. You want to interact with the public. And you're reaching out for that community involvement for the next step for the airport.
Well, thank you.
So I appreciate you being here today and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great talking to you, Jay.
Thanks, sir.